Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Today it's the start of another exploration video. We're heading back into the Cotswolds. I have my trusty OS Cotswold map with me today. I've also got a digital version locked into my phone as well, so it still keeps the image there despite losing signal, which is really useful. We're heading to the other side of Cirencester. In fact, this will be the first time in West Country Wanderings we've been back in the Cots since we completed the Cotswold Way some couple of months ago now. We're going to the other side of Cirencester looking for 3 forgotten villages. So why not join me on this explore here on West Country Wanderings. So how did this explore come about? Well, I love looking at maps. If you've been watching my channel for a little while, you know I love exploring abandoned places. I've covered the abandoned villages at Street in South Devon. If you want to check that one out, I went looking for an old fishing village which had been lost. With this, presumably with the sea, we had a look around there. But today I've been looking at this OS map. In fact, I noticed it a while ago. In fact, there's some 15 or 20 medieval villages in the Cotswolds. And today we're going to be concentrating on 3 of them. Now the 3 villages we'll be looking at today are just to the north of the A40. They're to the east of Cheltenham Kings. The A40 is the main road between Cheltenham across to Oxford. And the 3 villages are Whitton, Sandington, and just a bit further to the northeast, the village of Halling. They all have footpaths and public access close by. I haven't done much research online for these. I did try to find if there was any aerial photographs. All I could find was on the Historic England Register was the fact that aerial photographs had been taken in the 1940s, quite some time ago, and nothing further since. I expect some people have thrown up a drone and done that kind of thing, but I could find no images of those online on the likes of Geograph or Flickr. So what we'll be doing today is just a ground search, ground survey, and see what we can find, what evidence there are left of these villages. I don't know why they were abandoned. One of the reasons normally is things like the Great Plague, the Black Death, also to do with flooding, but it's unlikely to be flooding in these particular locations because of the high altitude of these villages are on the top of the Cotswold Plain. But anyway, we'll see what we can uncover and fill in broad gaps in the story of these 3 villages here in Gloucestershire in the Cotswolds. Well, here we are at Whittington. It's quite easy to get to from where I live. It's an air balloon, if you remember from my Cotswold Way days, was behaving itself today, so it was quite easy to get across the A40 and up here. It's only about half a mile off the main Oxford-Cheltenham road. We're about 6 miles from Cheltenham in that direction. The village hall is just behind me. I'll just show you around a second. And Whitton Manor is just over there. And I just had a look. The wind's got up. Sorry, the camera's starting to shake. That there is a printing press, a small publisher, which is just sited. Oh, leaves falling on me now. All good fun. Just at the back of the manor house. The manor house is currently closed. They do open in the summer on summer Sundays. It's a very attractive village here. What we're going to do now is we're going to start the walk. The medieval village itself, the abandoned village, is just on the road that I've come off the A40. It's about halfway along there, and there's a footpath on the left-hand side. And it's in that field there, so we're going to have an explore there. But first of all, I'll just show you quickly around this small village, well, probably hamlet in fact, here at Whittington. So that public footpath sign that goes straight into this field, which is indicated on map as where the medieval village once stood. Now, I don't know whether it was called Whittington or not, probably not, but obviously it is close to the current settlement that is called Whittington. Just come into the village and my first impressions that there are some indentations in the field, so we'll have a closer look. Now, just to the left of the tree behind me, there are three clear and distinct indentations in the ground. We're just going to have a closer look. So the hamlet of Whittington is behind me. In front of me we have this tree. Nothing strange about a tree in a field, of course. But around the tree is a much larger, unkempt area. Bigger than you would expect for a tree of its size. I'll just show you. Now from this angle, the evidence of our former village is a lot clearer. So I'll just give you the bearings. To the left of the hamlet there is the Cotswold Scarp. If you carried on up that hill, it would take you back to Cleve Hill. And so if you're familiar with my Cotswold Way series, you'll know all about that. So there's Whittington. And then as you follow this field around, the field's starting to ridge up quite noticeably. There's like a furrow there. This isn't a ploughed furrow. There's a lone tree there in the middle, and we have a ridge. Now, the really interesting bit is to the right of that tree. You have that ridge comes around, it's coming around me. But just beyond that, there are two distinct humps in the field. Okay, so this is a scan round of a view of the village from the diagonally opposite position where I was just now. There's our oak tree again, and that dead two trees there on the right of the frame. That's Whittington Manor just beyond the trees there, and there in the middle of the picture now lies our former village, our medieval village, and it crossed all the way right there, right over to the far left of the picture. So I've just come up a little way from the former village, gained a little bit of height, and I'll just show you what I can see in front of me at the moment. And yeah, there is a bit of a hedgerow in the way, so it's not fantastic, but it gives you a little bit more perspective on the situation. So that's the corner of our field again, and it goes into a diagonal there. You can just see above that hedgerow, we've got the cultivated field in front of me. That's the limit of our village, and as I say, it went all the way round there, back to that now famous oak tree in the middle of the field. Yeah, this gives you the extent of it. Sorry I can't get it any higher. If I go any higher up here, I'll lose closeness till I'll be too far away, because I'll have some other hedgerows and trees in between. But yeah, it just gives you a bit more perspective on the size. Yeah, the views around here. Sadly, we have the very busy Cheltenham to London, Oxford Road, the A40. That's down in the valley there, making its way across to, and Doversford is the next nearest village, which is just in the valley over that side. Former railway there, the Cheltenham to Banbury railway. Hi Ron from Parkinson's Walks, by the way. He did a cracking two-part video all about the Cheltenham to Banbury railway. I'll drop that links in for that below. And just coming up here is where this footpath would continue. Pheasant there, just wondered what that was. Thought it sounded like a light aircraft taking off from that field, but that goes up there, but that wouldn't really give me any clarity, further clarity on the field. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head back to the car, grab a coffee in the car just to warm up a little bit. It's a little bit chilly today, it's only about 12 degrees, but it's been forecast it should warm up later on this afternoon as we do our two other villages in this area. After I've had a coffee, I'm going to drive over to Sandington. There's no existing settlement there, it's just called Sannington. Whether there's a Sannington manor or house, I'm not sure, but there is again marked a medieval village, so we can check that out, see what we can find there. That's only 2 miles from where I am currently, and then we'll go on to our final village of the day, and that's the one at Halling. Just done a little diversion before I've come back to my car, because this is Whittington Church. And if you come into the churchyard, you'll see the building of Whittington Man is actually right close to the churchyard, the gravestones, and you can see it there behind me. There we go, it's probably the best view I can get for you. There it is. Not only that, there are some Crusader tombs here, to do obviously with the English Civil War. And there's something else on the wall here at the church, and I'll just read this to you. Just come this way, a little bit closer. Yes, it's this little plaque here on the wall. And it says, "To the memory of Giles Watkins, Gent, sometime curate of this parish, who was buried 7th of February 1690. Wow, that's some time ago. Yes, the tombstones behind me would appear to be the Crusader tombs, and sadly they're not in the greatest of condition, and it's difficult to make out a lot of the years on the stonework, but a couple of the years I did manage to make out would fit in with the English Civil War, so yes, I would say these are the Crusader tombs. So I'm now at Sandington. Now there's no hamlet or village or indeed any visible signs of settlement here whatsoever, which is quite extraordinary. It's a far more remote location than where we were just now at Whittington. There is a narrow lane which goes to a farm, and I think the farm is some mile in that direction, say 2 miles back down to Whittington. There's no main roads in this area. There is a lot of evidence of former quarrying. There are some danger, keep out signs, very steep quarry faces just off the side of this country lane. Now our former medieval village of Sandington was actually in this field behind me, but it is tricky to get access because there's a stone wall and a barbed wire, piece of barbed wire running along the top of it, so they really don't want you in there. However, I'm going to head down that way, down this lane, which is just behind me at the moment, to see if I can make my way a bit further around and see if we can see any evidence of the village from that side. So that's our crop field behind us, and that's where I thought the village once stood. But I've just looked at the OS map now. I'll insert it again now, just zoom in so you can see as well. There is a field boundary which is just further that way, and there is a small wood or copse, and the village just lies a little bit further beyond that, so we're going to have a look at that now. So I've just come off the lane that comes down from the minor road which leads to the farm. I'm now in another field. The crop field is just to my right. We've got a Cotswolds stone wall there, so I've just come into this field. There's nothing preventing me to do that, and I think our village is at the end of this field. While I'm walking along this field though, let's just enjoy these views across the Cotswolds here. They are absolutely fantastic. So I come to the corner of the field now where I can't go any more further because there's an electric fence, barbed wire, solar powered electric fence preventing me to get from the field. But from here I can actually see all that I need to see, so I'll just show you that now. As you can see, it's not as clearly defined as at Whittington, but yeah, there's the solar panel for the electric fence. There's that private wooded copse there which you're not allowed in either. It's not a footpath across there, though it looks like it is, but it isn't. There you can see our ridge, and just beyond that, in fact in the dip there, you can make out there's another little copse of trees. A little copse of trees seems to indicate former settlements, don't they? There's another fence there. That, in that little furrow down there, is where the medieval settlement, and just beyond to the next stone wall was where Sandington the medieval village of Sandington once stood. And as I say, there's very little information on it. If I do find some more, I'll drop that in as a subtitle now. But a beautiful place here on the Cotswold Hill. It is a bit wind-blown, so I would imagine they would have used that settlement there in the little nook of the hill to actually protect it from the wind a little bit more, because where I'm stood on the corner of this field, I can attest it's a little bit chilly with the wind whipping around, but they would have given them a little bit of protection there just in the centre of the screen. There is some settlements over here. Just pan that around just so you can see that. Now down there is a mill. I'm not sure the name of that mill. I will find that out and put in the name of that village as well, because I don't know what that is, and I'll drop that in round about now as well. But yeah, that is Sandington. That is all I can see. I'm afraid it's not as exciting or as spectacular as at Whittington. There may be some more evidence just beyond those trees, and just looking at the OS map, that may be the case. But unfortunately, of course, I have got no access there. I'm not about to commit an act of trespass. I've been able to get into this field, although it's not clearly marked as a right of way, but clearly the land over there does definitely not want me any further than this point, so we'll call that an end here. So from the corner of the field here at Sandington, I'm going to call it a day. At this particular location, it's not the end of the video. I've got another medieval village for you coming up. I'm going to make my way back to the car, and we're going to head over another couple of miles to the village, or rather the existing hamlet. There is still a hamlet there of Halling, and it's marked on our OS map. There is another medieval village, so we're going to have a look at that now. I'm about to start on the footpath. An interesting sign behind me. It says this is part of the Sabrina Way. Now I'm doing the Severn Way next year. I've never heard of the Sabrina Way. As I've mentioned before, it's the Celtic goddess of the River Severn, but Severn's not anywhere near here either. I don't know what that's all about. If I find more information on the Sabrina Way, I'll drop that below. So now I'm high above the village of Halling. In fact, we've now joined the Windrush Way. Lots of trails around this part of the world. That was Windrush Way was the one I had considered doing as a walk next year. I think it follows the river. I'll start again. The River Windrush all the way into Oxfordshire. There is actually a village called Windrush on the Gloucestershire-Oxfordshire border, and this follows it. But our village was just behind me, just to the right of my head at the moment. We'll go and take a closer look. Okay, so I've walked a bit further down the trail. I've also put my telephoto lens on, because I can't get any closer physically because it's private property. There's no right of way across the field there. We got a reasonable view from this point here. So I'm just zooming in on that point there. Now I can see from the map why this would have been chosen as a suitable location for a village, because just in below that ridge there, and that's where our village would have been, in the dip there where the trees are, there are several springs. In fact, there's a spring. If I pan around here, you can see there's a valley, a small valley. See those sheep? They're actually the other side of the valley, and there's a stream that runs down in between, little coombe there. So the village here at Halling, the ancient village of Halling, the village here, would have been sited because A, there's a bit of shelter there, B, you've got a good water supply, and C, it seems to be suitable for growing crops. Further down we've got lots of tree growth. They probably would have grown some fruit trees, and there's trees further in the distance, and indeed there's some crop growing that goes on around the village today as well, because a lot of the Cotswolds is very high wold territory, which is suitable for sheep, but it's not so good for anything else, and that makes it rather barren. But this site here at Halling is more sheltered, and again that would have made it more suitable for a settlement. Indeed, the village continued along there where all the sheep are. So where you see those sheep, at one time those sheep would have been people there, and the village would have been right at the top, essentially between those two trees that you can see on your screen at the moment. I've just put the old camera on the tripod now. Sorry about the shaky footage earlier on. my determination to get some shots. So I've just come, so I'm now perpendicular to the site, to the former village site, and what is clear from this vantage point is that there was a settlement on both sides of that stream. The stream is actually, if you're looking just at the middle of the screen, but just slightly below the middle of the screen, you'll see a stone wall, Cotswold stone wall, with just some shrubbery to the right of that. That's where the spring runs down, and just up from that there are some sheep on the other side, but if you look closely at the grass you can see tumps in it. It's uneven, and that's not from ploughing, because that's clearly not a crop field. That piece there would be unsuitable for growing crops, though crops are grown the other side of that barn. There is a crop field there which I've just walked around from. That's where our village was, here at Halling. And you can also see to the left of your screen where there's a little bit of shrubbery, there's like a little bit of a drop off. That bit there is where there would also have been a settlement. So the settlement was on both sides of this valley here, of this spring. And it's, of the three, I think perhaps this was the biggest. Perhaps again because of the water supply, the fact it's more sheltered, and we have the ability to grow crops and fruit in this area. Wow, I've just noticed a really tall llama over there. Just gone pounding off there. I don't know if you can see that, just to the left of the screen. It's now gone behind that tree. Wow. You're now looking back towards Halling. I think that's a Halling Court or Halling Manor, not sure. Quite an extensive building with a landscaped garden in front of it. There, and it does have a church. The church is just a bit further round to the right. That's, I think, one for another day here. Well, from the medieval village here at Halling, high up in the Cotswolds in Gloucestershire, I'm going to bid you goodbye for today here on West Country Wanderings. I hope you enjoyed the tour looking at these medieval, ancient, abandoned villages here in the Cotswolds. Till next time, please consider a like, a share, a comment, particularly if you have some ancient villages in your local area, wherever that may be. I'd love to hear from you. Hope to see you all again. Take care. All the best. Cheers now. Goodbye.